Data-driven decision making is one of the most important strategies for any business in today's time. Data allows business owners to leverage the endless digital insights that are now available at their fingertips and embrace the power of data-driven business intelligence to make more informed decisions that are better for business growth, evolution, plus increasing the profits. We at TechGig have always tried to give you the best of the market trends when it comes to technology. Hola folks, I am Sukriti Advanshi and today I'm in conversation with Selvaraaju Murugesan, data strategist from Kovai.co to talk about anything and everything around data. Welcome to the show, Selva.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Sukriti.
So tell us about yourself. What do you do?
So I lead a small data science team at Kovai.co. We are a small company with 5 products. Having said that, our customers are global, and more importantly, I work on a product called Document 360, which is a knowledge-based platform, and we are trying to innovate in terms of solving the business problem in that product using some new and digital technologies.
Lovely. So without any further ado, I'm going to have my questions asked and all the insights that I'm really excited to know about. As you're the the data strategist that I'm going to cover and talk about all together. So help me understand, Selva, what are the current trends in AI and ML and data science domains altogether right now?
Yeah, look, the data science field has been growing rapidly in the recent years. More importantly, in the last 3 to 4 years, there is a huge uptake of data science field, predominantly across all the organizations, especially the SaaS companies in particular. We'll look at the drivers first of why, then we'll try to see what the trends are. The main thing, the driver for all these things is the digital businesses. The digital businesses, as the business goes online, they're actually collecting a lot of data from their customers, from their business transaction, and the third-party data. Most of the SaaS companies are actually sitting on a huge asset, which is called data. Okay, and they came to realization after they digitized their business, and then they run the business for a few years, and the predominant question that the business leaders ask is, what can I do with this data? Okay, apart from insights, how can I actually leverage this data? And that's when people realize that if a data is actually used for solving a customer problem, mostly helping their customer experience, or maybe helping the customers to understand the value, or maybe doing some recommendations so that people are actually hooked on to their whole ecosystem. And that's what actually started this data science trend. More importantly, in this artificial intelligence and ML technologies, definitely it's picking up a lot of steam, and people started using this data as a driver to build custom machine learning or AI models where they can forecast some sales or maybe do some recommendation. The great example I can actually give you is, if you go to Amazon or go to Netflix, the moment you buy a product or watch a movie, they will recommend you what can you do next. Okay, these insights actually comes from an AI or an ML model behind the scenes, utilizing the data, and more importantly, utilizing the data to personalize the recommendation for you. The personalization and the customization are the ones that's driving. So look, if you look at the trends, once they started, people started building their own models. Okay, the ML models are being custom built, but for many use cases that's around businesses, there are several common use cases. For example, if you're trying to forecast sales or marketing, this comes under a generic AI ML model building called forecasting, where you don't need to build a custom model. The model is right there. All you got to do is feed your data, and then you tune your model. Okay, and then you build your own model. Okay, based on some of the algorithms you've got, and you can actually see this trend arising in the last 2 years. Most of these cloud companies such as Amazon, Google, and Microsoft, they offer out-of-the-box forecasting APIs. So you don't have to do anything. All you got to do is the algorithms are there. You just feed in the data, and they will train the best models out there, and then pick the algorithm that's actually best for you. Gives you the best accuracy you needed based upon some of your business requirement you have. and that has been rising. Now, look, the rising trend which we have actually seen is mostly in terms of putting the AI model on the edge devices. And the next, in addition to that, is where you probably don't need to train all the custom models. There are already pre-trained models that comes out of the box. All you gotta do is you feed in your proprietary data and then you tweak those generic models for your business needs. So those are the two biggest trends that's happening at the moment. Okay, and in addition to this, uh, things on the edge, you've probably seen a lot of things that's coming out of Apple these days, where they talk about on-device intelligence. The way this AI ML model works is you generate the data and you send the data to the cloud, and then there you go, you do a lot of bigger number crunching, and then give you the outputs, and then this device actually shows you. But Apple actually gone one step ahead, where they actually put all this AI intelligence on the palm. So all your ML models gets trained and actually runs on the device, which has been fantastic, because that's exactly where this customer experience comes in place. And you probably know, Shukriti, that most of the companies around the world are extremely customer focused at this point in digital age. And the only way to drive that, maximize the customer experience, is through using this AI and ML technologies to their advantage.
Interesting, Selva. So, we spoke how important data is for businesses these days, and how it's helping with all sort of decision making precisely. Tell me, how should a business build its data strategy, and are there any specific components one should involve while doing so?
Yeah, that's a great question, Shukriti, because the data strategy is something most of the organizations should always do every couple of years. And what I've seen from my experience is that most of the people, they go into data strategy and thinking that I should build data governance, I should procure tools, I should build visualization components and stuff like that, instead of nailing on a business objective and then using data to actually achieve that business outcome they want. I fundamentally believe that a data strategy should address the outcomes of the business. If the data strategy help their business to grow in the revenue, or maybe enhance their customer experience and whatever business outcomes they have, if the data is actually helping them, that should be their data strategy. And the companies, they need to have at least a long-term strategy, because if you do a snippet of projects here and there, probably it's not going to scale. And mostly these are like 3 months project, and they build a dashboard, they show it to the executives, it's shiny, they use it for a while, and after that they forget. Okay, the more important thing in this data strategy is this data transformation journey, or the data driven decision making journey, where the organization have to do. For that, they have to do a lot of change management. Once you put the data into the business hands, you build dashboards, you build a lot of insights generating tools and visualization that has to be embedded as part of the business activities. So they use data in everyday decision making. That's when you know the power of data. The moment you do that, you actually delight the customer instantly. Okay, the perfect example I could give is, you probably know, in any digital businesses, the customers actually interact different departments in a digital business. For example, you deal with the sales when you're procuring your products or services from the digital company, or then once you purchase the product, probably you're dealing with the developers or maybe technical support, and then probably after support, or maybe there's some payment issues you have. You look at it for a digital business, especially the bigger businesses, they have so much touch points across all the departments, especially for one customer. And if a customer picks up a phone or maybe talk to the technical representative or someone, they should know the holistic perspective of this customer. How loyal this customer is, what are the issues they've raised last time, when was the customer's last touch point. It enables them to serve the customer a little bit better, and more importantly, tailor the services. Okay, and through which you can actually get the customer loyalty. So if you look at from the data strategy perspective, I think all these things has to be embedded in there. And then more importantly, for the emerging new problems, business problems, you don't have to rely on the old technologies. Probably there is new tools that's available. AI and ML is one such tool where they can actually leverage that and then use it for this customer experience.
Lovely. So, we spoke of how companies have a data-driven mindset, Selva, these days. What is exactly having a data-driven mindset, and how companies should move to get empowered with such an approach? Because, we just enlisted a couple of things that people, that companies should actually consider. So, how to
Yeah.
have such an approach?
Yeah, look, the data-driven mindset is very hard to actually achieve. In fact, the company has to go through a massive change in how they do this part of their change management, because it's just not about changing one business team or activity where you centralize the data science team and they are considered as this nerds where they actually come up with the insights, and then the rest of the organization actually observe that insight. If you want to be a data-driven organization, the mindset of how the data is actually empowering everybody in the organization to innovate should be the core mantra. And I believe the top management, especially the executives across the businesses, should pitch in and then probably reiterate every now and then why is it very important for us to be data driven in this digital landscape. Okay, the why has to be articulated every now and then, and more importantly, the leaders should also aspire them to be data driven. And every time they go for a meeting or maybe in a business discussion, the first thing they'll ask, the first thing they'll should ask is, where is the data? Show me the evidence. Okay, prove me wrong. Those always centered around data. Okay, which means every middle managers or probably even the business executives, they need to be equipped with some data knowledge, and they need to bring data to the table, decision making table. And that's when you know that it is culturally embedded. Everybody is talking about some insights, but having said that, the best question to test, usually I do that whenever I go for many organizations where they have actually said, look, we are data driven. The best question to ask is, when somebody when a colleague or somebody in the organization, when they're having conversations and somebody makes a statement, okay, usually it's an opinion, okay, and the other colleague should say, you know what, that's your opinion, that's your hypothesis, let's find data and evidence to prove you whether you're right or wrong. That's when you exactly know whether the whole organization is digitally transformed or not. The big businesses such as Netflix, they are very data driven. They actually embrace this journey very well, because without data, no decision has ever been made in Netflix. It's all data driven company, and many of the emerging SaaS companies are also trying to be data driven because they don't have legacy, they're born digital, they're cloud native, and they're very focused on reducing the risk factor in terms of running businesses. So obviously it's data driven is the go. The other aspect I would tell you is, in terms of this having a data driven mindset, is when you think about how we do thinking, it's all scientific in nature. We try to formalize something, and we try to experiment something, and we find evidence, and then we try to go and prove ourselves right or wrong. Then it actually helps us increase our understanding of the problem. And more importantly, once you understand the problem a little bit better, then you can actually make accurate and more prominently make good decisions. Okay, and that mindset has to be embedded. This means there has to be a cultural revolution happening inside the organization. It's just not one executives and then taking a flag and saying, hey, we want to be data driven. The training program has to be set. Change management is very crucial for this kind of things to get embedded. And more importantly, all the insights that gets generated has to be action. That's when people know that, what, I produced that insight, somebody made a great decision using my insight. Guess what? It's actually helping the business to grow, or we are a lot more customer centric, or we actually identify new markets to venture into. So those are the great kind of things we can actually give it to the team, so that they're actually empowered, so that there is some kind of a loop, circular loop, where the business heads or the teams, they actually generate insights, the executives make good decisions, uh, and then get circled back as a feedback to the team saying that something in action, kudos on the shoulders, and then probably like move on. Yeah.
So do you mean that this entire conversation around having a data-driven mindset has to be a coffee machine conversation, sort of a thing in the office, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. That'll be amazing to have. In fact, if everybody's embracing on this journey, the moment you say something, if somebody will come up with a statement saying, "Hey, that's your hypothesis. Let me find data to prove you wrong."
But I
And
think this approach not just helps you professionally, but also to have a good mindset in order to analyze things better personally as well. So I think it's a very good point that you've raised, Salva. Thank you so much for that.
yeah.
Moving on to the next one, what are the challenges faced by the companies in driving the usage? Because we've spoken of what strategies are there, what are the components, and how to have such an approach. Now let's talk about the challenges, the kind of challenges or the problems that the company face during the usage of data among internal stakeholders and employees. Because now we are talking about having round conversations around data. So how can
Uh-huh.
that be actually changed?
Yeah, look, there are few challenges. More importantly, even though I say few, they are very critical challenges that most of the organization face. The first one is not having buy-in from among the stakeholders. The moment you put data into the table, there is and you show some visualization and charts, most of the stakeholders are not data, they don't have a data driven mindset. They think a little bit differently, they think from a business angle, or they don't have a scientific temper in asking probing questions and things like that. And then because of that, there's no buy-in. The moment there is no buy-in, they're not binding to the process. They are not using data as part of their decision-making process. They always have a hunch and they go with their gut feeling because it's always been done like that. And if you look at it, they could be right or they could be wrong. It's all experiential driven. When somebody makes a hunch decision, it's all experiential driven. But the data actually shows changing or shift in customer behavior, or maybe it's showing some lot of other insights. They need to consider that. Okay. And lack of stakeholder buying is one thing. The way you can actually change this is having a top executive buy-in from the top actually helps. If a top executives or a managerial person comes and says, you know what, we're going to be data driven, and then data has to be considered as part of decision making process, it helps with that solving that problem. Okay, in terms of lack of buy-in from the stakeholder. The other thing is the training. Even though people say, hey, you want to be data driven, they don't provide good amount of training to their all the staff in the organization. Because of that, even if you produce a lot of insights, because they don't have this inherent knowledge, they're not able to observe the insights. So obviously there has to be some kind of a training program. In fact, when I say training program, there has to be an ongoing training program to help the whole teams on board with your data driven mindset. Okay. And look, this is the third critical thing, which is it should be a common sense in most of the organization. The most of the organization, and especially the leaders, they should ask the right questions. When I say right question, it could be a right probing question, or the right kind of right kind of questions to understand the problem, or maybe understand the risk. And for that, the data team or the AI team should actually provide the insights for. And it's usually a joke inside the data science community. It's better to give approximate answer to a right question rather than giving right answers to a wrong question. And people make bad decisions. And it is a fact. And critical thinking, especially having that kind of thinking mindset with the data, is actually very crucial. And these are the three major challenges. If I want to summarize, one is the lack of buy-in from the stakeholders, and the second thing is in terms of data training, and third one is having that critical mindset to ask the right questions. Shruti.
Thank you so much, Salva. I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation, and thank you so much for feeding us with the right insights when it's come to when we talk about data precisely. I had a great time, and I hope our audience also enjoys this entire conversation that we just had, Salva.
Yeah, excellent, Shruti.